So, a very good morning to all the participants connected. Topic is barriers to creativity.
When it comes to develop creativity, so we understand that creativity means something new. It can be idea in terms of innovation, it can be product, it can be design. But when it comes to creativity and specifically, when we said creativity in the different engineering institutions, so what is the application basically of this particular concept to our technical institution? When we said creativity engineering, we basically challenge different assumptions. We break down boundaries and we try to identify the different ways by the use of which it is possible for my student to make new assumptions, to make new connection with whatever they have learned, whatever they have collected in terms of their knowledge pool. So when I said my student is able to do something new, so it may be possible that my student is not able to design a new car in while getting information or collecting information in the specific branch of engineering, say for mechanical engineering. My student is not able to design a new engine when he or she is working in an institute, but at the same time that student is able to challenge assumption. So he or she may select part of that particular design and try to do something new with that particular design or with that particular aspect. So at student level, when I said creativity, whatever my student is doing something in his or her life for the very first time, that is a creative step taken by my student in that particular education stream. So it is not always that student is going to create something new or student is going to generate something new while working. If that student is able to design a prototype model after going that subject information, that is a creative step for my student to do while working with us at institute level. So whatever ideas, whatever concepts we are giving to our students are able to develop association with those ideas. Our students are able to change the boundaries, the limitation of that particular concept, and we consider that my students are able to do something while working with me at institute level. Say, for example, student in this branch of chemical engineering, if he or she is able to do an interdisciplinary project with the branch of textile or mechanical engineering, it means we are promoting transdisciplinary research at institute level. It is again a very creative step that we are taking at institute level in terms of developing creativity among students. I'm not going into the detail of this topic. My major objective is just to identify that whether it is possible for us to break down those boundaries, because the title assigned to me today is barriers in creativity. So I will talk in terms of creativity engineering education only. So when it comes to the creativity engineering education, it means it is our ability to transcend new ideas. It is our ability to follow the rules, procedures that is already being given in our branch of specialization. And if we are able to create something meaningful out of that, maybe in one form or another, it means we are doing something new in that branch of specialization. So, my first question to all of you is, we all know, and maybe in the previous session it is already covered to you, that creativity involves combination of originality and task appropriateness. So when I'm saying creativity in terms of engineering, it means there must be some new ideas that we are going to follow, but at the same time, it must be task appropriate. So while working in laboratory, and I said my students need to do something new, it doesn't mean that my students are ignoring safety precaution that is essential for that laboratory environment. That safety precaution, that task appropriateness need to be there when my students are working. But somewhere this particular statement seems contradictory. When I'm saying that my students are doing something new, there may be chances that those safety precautions can be ignored by the students because that particular concept or idea is very much new. Students do not know what is going to be happened. So it is a contradictory statement. So when we said creativity of specifically for engineering student, we need to consider to what extent my student can be original, up to what extent my student can be creative. And at the same time, the another barrier that we are facing specifically in educational institution is when we said student must do something new. at the same time they have to follow the academic calendar. So maybe the project work is of 6 months or 1 year duration. Is it possible for my student to develop something new while working within that academic guidelines? So if you divide your class student into number of group and one group of the student is working on a very novel and unique idea, but as a supervisor, I know that it is not possible for my student to complete that project within those academic guidelines. So when I'm doing evaluation for the project work, it is clear that project work of that group is not completed yet. So am I going to pass that student for the project work subject? What kind of evaluation strategy I need to adopt it so that I can promote creativity and at the same time my student is able to fulfill that academic guideline also. So that is the barrier that we need to consider when our students are working on something new or any creative idea that is also useful by nature. So as a faculty, what will be your approach if you are in the similar kind of situation? कैसे इवेलुएट करोगे फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट? आपके स्टूडेंट किसी प्रोजेक्ट वर्क पे काम कर रहे हैं एंड दैट प्रोजेक्ट आइडिया इज वेरी क्रिएटिव एंड वेरी यूनिक बाय नेचर. You know as a supervisor that it is not possible for my student to complete the project on time. When you are evaluating the project work of the class, what will be your approach to evaluate that project work? कैसे evaluate करोगे as a supervisor?
We will see the idea, that what was the idea, because without idea, nothing can be done.
Okay.
So if that idea has come to the mind of the child or a group of students, then I think we should give some weightage to. And how much time he has put on that work, and what is the output in that time span only? What output he got during that time span? It depends upon that we can evaluate the.
Thank you very much. There is feedback given to us by the candidates available with us at our NITTTR studio. So when it comes that the idea is very new and students are putting maximum effort to complete that project. So maybe as a supervisor, if the student decided 4 different objectives, after the first evaluation, we as a departmental faculty come to the conclusion that yes, we need to go by this particular project, but this group of students, if they are able to complete 1 or 2 objective of this particular project, we consider the project is completed and the same project will be handed over to the next semester student after identifying the student with the same IQ ability available. So these things need to be decided beforehand. Once at departmental level, we are in the process of evaluating the new ideas or the new project work that is being given by the student. Shivani ma'am also given feedback to us. Ma'am said, I will first of all look into the effort and the research and also whether they are working in group or not. So thank you very much, Shivani ma'am. You are discussing this particular thing on the same approach that is being discussed at our studio. So another major barrier that we all consider in terms of creativity is that we consider that it is not possible for us to be creative all the time and every individual is not creative. So as far as the idea of creativity is concerned, as literature it is being said, everyone is creative up to some extent. One can be creative up to mini C level. There may be few individuals who can develop their creativity up to big C level. Say, for example, let's take an example of a child. Say a 2-year-old without any formal education, if that child is able to design something, draw a sketch on a piece of paper, that child is doing first time in his life means that is a creative actor for that particular child. There may be paintings in your home, or in the child's home, that is way more creative, but that act is creative for that particular child because he is using pen and paper for the very first time to design a sketch. So that is a mini C level that the child is trying to develop up to some extent that creativity. after some of the training provided to that particular child by his parents, that child is able to design something appropriately, maybe a design of an apple, maybe a design of an house or a hut. So that is after training, the child is able to polish that creative act and able to develop creativity up to little C level. And suppose that if that child over the period of time get admission in a school, art school, and able to design something more beautiful and more creative by nature, but that act need formal training. So when we said to sketch something or to design something that is more creative by nature, it requires training, it requires knowledge, and at the same time, it requires motivation. So if we want to develop creativity in any individual, these are the three different dimensions on which we need to work. First is the expertise of that particular individual need to be developed just by increasing his or her observation and developing knowledge pool. Second factor that we need to have for the development of creativity is motivation of an individual. Motivation can be intrinsic by nature, it can be extrinsic by nature. But if the motivation is intrinsic, that particular child or that particular student will perform certain things by putting maximum effort in it. And the third major element is the thinking skill of that particular individual. When we said thinking skill, thinking can be convergent, thinking can be divergent, depending upon in what area that student want to develop his or her creativity. So for any individual to develop up to the level of pro C, we need certain dimension on which we work for. And after that professional training or a formal training, one is able to do creative act in his or her field of specialization. And there are only few individuals available who are able to develop up to the level of big C. It may be 1% or 2% globally available individual who are able to develop up to the level of big C. And those individuals have an impact on the culture, impact on the society, and at large at a global level. But yes, at institute level, with the help of formal training, it is possible for us to develop the level of creativity among our students. In the previous session, we have covered learning strategies, and one of the active learning strategy that is very important for the development of creative ability among our student is the project-based exercises or problem-solving exercises. So rather than giving a structured problem every time to the class students to solve, sometimes we need to give ill-structured problems to the student. So when I'm saying ill-structured problem, it means before solving that particular problem, student must need to redesign the problem. So when the students are thinking about the problem from multiple angles, there may be multiple solutions that is given by the student. But what happen regularly, the kind of practices that we are following at institute level, what happened? For example, you have set a question paper in a numerical problem. There is a standard values that the student need to use. But after distributing the paper and the student read that particular statement, the teacher come to know that student are saying statement is not accurate. The statement was accurate. It is the standard value that the student need to apply to solve a given problem. When students are in the habit of having all the information ready and they are routinely in the process of solving that problem. So somewhere the component of creativity is missing in educational institution. The student before solving a problem need to think about the problem. And if we are able to develop such kind of convergent and divergent thinking in our engineering students, it is possible for us to have more novel solutions in their field of specialization. Another is components we have already covered that for the development of creativity and to break the barrier that is we cannot be creative, we need to develop expertise. For an engineering education student, expertise in the form of technical, procedural, and intellectual. Motivation need to be there, creative thinking ability need to be there. So when we said creative thinking ability, convergent thinking skill is required and divergent thinking skill is also required. So my next question to all of you is, when it comes to the development of convergent and divergent thinking skill, for a technical candidate, what kind of thinking skill is more appropriate to develop? Is it convergent or divergent? Which kind of thinking skill help us to solve our problems in our field of specialization? Is it convergent skill or divergent skill? For an engineering graduate, both abilities are required for creative output. When we said convergent thinking is fundamental to the appropriateness. Our scientific fact, principles, rules, information is not going to be changed. So there are many of the problems which require convergent thinking to solve. But at the same time, divergent thinking is also essential when it comes to the development of a new product or a new design. So for an engineering education student, we need to have both kind of thinking skills developed at institute level. One is the convergent thinking skill by providing all the technical information that is essential for that branch of engineering, and divergent thinking skill by introducing the student in terms of transdisciplinary research or interdisciplinary research. So both kind of thinking skill is required to break down the barrier. That is, the development of creativity is not essential for all the candidates. So when it comes to the barriers to creativity, one thing that we need to understand is any individual who want to do something creative need to acquire some sort of a trait or strength to become a creative person. So what kind of strength and trait is required to become a creative person? Those are the elements of creativity, that is expertise, motivation, and thinking skill. At the same time, motivation to create, grow, and contribute. As far as this particular workforce environment is concerned, today in our workforce environment, there is a requirement of team members. There is a requirement of individual who can work as a group member. Say, for example, take an example of your department or your institute. Maybe from today, 10 to 15 years in the past, there were employees in the department or at the institute who are ready to work as per the guidelines of the supervisor. अगर head of department है, so maybe all the faculty members of the department are ready to listen to the direction that is given by the head of department, and departments are working as a team or as a group by following the direction of that particular individual. But over the period of time, that leadership style is changed as the generation changes. Now there is a demand of servant and shared style of leadership that is happening all around. So if head of department said any XYZ faculty that this is your responsibility to perform this particular activity, maybe one time that individual agreed upon. But again, if the next time the senior member is giving the same responsibility to that particular individual again and again, that individual will ask question that what the other members of my departments are doing or performing. I am not the substitute of the other members of your department. It is due to the generation gap, and it is due to the change of the leadership style that is happening all around. So if we want to grow and contribute as a department, we need to develop team who can work collaboratively and who can share the responsibility and resources that are available. Only then it is possible for us to do something new at departmental level, minus the fear and disability that impedes the creativity. So within a team and within a group, we must be able to take certain risks. There may be failures when we are trying to do something new, but what we are learning from those failures and what kind of steps we are taking ahead that help us to do more in terms of creative ability. So it is not only the traits that are working, but at the same time, what type of team or what type of group you are growing at institute level or at classroom level that help us to do something more or something new. So when I said do something creative at institute level, NEP 2020 is saying transdisciplinary research is required. How that transdisciplinary research is going to be happened? When a chemical engineering student can club with a mechanical engineering student, only then the transdisciplinary research will come in practice. So these are the different things that we need to think about when it comes to the development of creative personalities at institute level. So what keep us away from exercising our creative potential? There are certain barriers that we need to discuss. One is the historical blocks. It's a very famous saying that history repeats itself. Why history repeats itself? Because we are taking the similar kind of actions and acts again and again. So we are not learning from our past mistakes and we are not following the instruction that are appropriate by nature. So this is a one saying that we all are following very blindly. The second creative block that we need to consider is biological block. Creative ability is hereditary trait, but at the same time, yes, people are intelligent by nature also, but at the same time, by providing them environment, by giving them a professional training, it is possible for us to develop the ability or IQ of an individual. But yes, it certainly requires professional training at every point of life. So environment plays an important role. We can develop the ability of an individual to think about the problem from multiple angles when we are able to provide training to that particular individual. So if as a teacher, if my classes are full of how and why, it means I'm breaking down the assumption that is available with my student information. So that can be break by the teacher, physiological due to the physical ability. But there are many examples available in our history where despite of the physical ability, the individuals are able to do something new. Sociological blocks. A society shares a set of morals and tradition that is characterized by the collective activities, interest, and behavior. More flexibility, more adaptability to the surrounding environment is essential. Only then we are able to break down the boundaries that is set by the societal norms. So that also need to be think upon. Perceptual blocks, it may be stereotypes, seeing what is familiar, isolating the problem, delimit the problem too closely, inability to see the problem from the multiple angles, saturation. It is मैं कल ही ना इंटरव्यू सुन रही थी दिलजीत दोसांझ की and interviewer was asking कि आप सारा साल काम करते हो? He said no, there is time in a year जब मैं कुछ नहीं करता. He said कुछ नहीं करता means आप सोते हो, आप मूवी देखते हो, आप खाते हो. कहता लिटरली मैं कुछ नहीं करता. आई डू नथिंग. जो मेरा दिल करता है खिड़की खोल के मैं उसके सामने खड़ा रहता हूँ, बुक पे मतलब चेयर पे बैठा रहता हूँ. आई डू नॉट थिंक व्हाट आई एम डूइंग. सो दैट इज एंड आफ्टर दैट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम ही सेड कि 15 और 20 डेज के बाद मेरे दिमाग में जो फर्स्ट आइडिया आता है, ऑन दैट बेसिस आई डिजाइन एंड डेवलप माई म्यूजिक एल्बम. सो दैट इज saturation. हम लोग क्या करते हैं? There is a routine life that we are living. We do not have break in our day-to-day routine, and those routine activities do not allow us to think something new or to design something new. So saturation also need to be break out by the individual who want to do something new. आपने concept सुना होगा observation walks. Observation walks. In office time, the new concept that is in specifically in MNC culture, there is a new concept of taking observation walk. कि आप 2-3 घंटे अगर आप अपना काम करके थक गए हो, go around अपने आसपास के इधर उधर एरिया में घूमो, take a break, come ready with the work again. So those observation walk also help us to break down our boundaries in a work environment. Failure to government office में क्या होगा when you go for an observation walk? हमारे यहाँ पे रेगुलर वर्क क्यों होते हैं? वाई वी आर नॉट एबल टू डू समथिंग न्यू? Because there is no flexibility provided in this particular working environment. 9 to 5:30 work culture is still there. That 9 to 5:30 in that particular time period, you are doing something or you are not doing something, that is not a point of discussion. The point of discussion is you are not available at office from this to this time. So rather than focusing on the productivity of that particular individual, we are focusing on the productivity of the individual, that how long he or she was available in that office. हो सकता है किसी की कैपेसिटी हो कि वो 45 मिनट में सारा काम कर दे. देयर इज एन इंडिविजुअल जो 5:30 के बाद काम करना शुरू करता है, वो अभी एप्लीकेबल नहीं हो रहे मैम. से फॉर एग्जांपल व्हेन वी सेड टू डू समथिंग न्यू, से आपने कोई मूव कोर्स डिजाइन करना है फॉर द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम इन योर लाइफ, सो दैट इज एन क्रिएटिव एक्ट फॉर यू. You need to put all your thinking in that particular process. It is not that you are going to start the way you are delivering lecture till now, the same way you are designing that MOOC course. So that is a creative act for that particular individual. So when I say I'm going to design a new course, that is a massive open online course, new by nature for me. It is maybe another individual already designed few of the courses, but that activity is very new for me. I need to think upon that activity. So in that particular case, it is not possible कि 9 बजे मैं सोचना शुरू करूँगी and 5:30 that act will be over. It may be I need to do my thinking pattern may be different, my learning style may be different. Maybe I read all the information while sitting at night at my own place, and if flexibility in work culture is not provided to me, somewhere my productivity in both the terms are going to be affected. So when we said saturation in a working environment, if we want to something new, specifically in academic institution, in line with NEP 2020, when it is being said student can earn flexible credits, how the students are going to earn flexible credit when they are enrolled for different MOOC courses. It means students are not going to get credit while sitting in your institute from 9 to 5:30. They are earning those flexible credit in their own personal time. Some another XYZ faculty is providing those courses. It means not only at the part of the student the flexibility is required, but at the same time the faculty, academician need to give that kind of flexibility. Only then this kind of work culture can be promoted. Otherwise, वही routine subjects होंगे. It is not in a traditional mode. It is in an online mode that is available with the student. So perceptual block means our routine day-to-day activities are also going to be affected a lot. That creative sense. So somewhere we need to provide flexibility, and we need to have options to provide that kind of adaptation to the individual. Failure to use all the senses. So there is one puzzle for all of you trying to solve this puzzle. A black man dressed all in black, wearing a black mask, stands at a crossroad in a totally black painted town. All the street lights in the town were broken. There is no moon. A black painted car without headlight drives straight toward him, but turns in time and does not hit him. How do you explain this?
Ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
I think the statement has written there is no moon. So it was maybe
Yes.
the daytime.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. It is a daytime. So thank you very much, ma'am. May I know your good name?
Ma'am, Swati Tiwari, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Swati, ma'am. So it is a sunny day. That is why that man is able to is not going to hit with that particular car. So that particular quiz is related to thinking about the problem from the multiple dimensions, and at the same time failure to use all our senses. So when we said black, 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 there's a misconception that everything is black and we are not able to see the problem from the different angle. So that is a perceptual block that we need to eradicate. Another perceptual block is we tend to see what we expect to see. So in the last session also, when Dr. Vidhu ma'am was engaging session post lunch, she was saying that active listening is a very good activity to follow that also help us to negotiate. Sometimes we already developed our response to a given situation and we start reacting to that particular situation without even understanding that situation. So we do not want to see a situation or the condition of an individual from the different angle. That is again a creative block. That's why we are often not good proofreaders of our own work. अगर आप आज ने कोई रिसर्च आर्टिकल लिखा है, आफ्टर 3 months when you start reading that research article, your own writing, you are able to identify multiple errors in that writing. So that is stereotyping. This is also we known as stereotypes. Another is difficulty in isolating the problem. The problem may be very big by nature, but if we break down the problem into smaller parts, it is easy for us to solve a problem at hand. So that is again a perceptual block, tendency to delimit the problem area too closely. So again, one activity, join all the circles with only 4 lines without lifting your pen, and condition is that you are going to cross through every dot once. So this activity is very common. My purpose to show this particular activity is when we said think out of the box, we need to break down the boundaries. We need to challenge the different assumption and try to identify the solution. So this particular statement have 32 different solutions. इसका एक solution नहीं है. It can be solved by using 32 different solution. One solution may be that is shown all of you on screen. So 9 dots you are going to design, and that every dot need to cross once. So this can be the one solution for a given problem. So the problem, if it is not routine by nature, we may spend more time, but if we are able to break down that problem into smaller chunks, sometimes it is very easy for us to solve that problem. Inability to see the problem from the various angles. An ordinary woman walks on a water, it is not a miracle. आपको जो बुक का टाइटल दिया है ना, माई पर्पस फॉर गिविंग दैट टाइटल ऑफ द बुक इज, उस पर लिखा हुआ है कि किस तरह का थिंकिंग स्किल इज रिक्वायर्ड. इट इज द लेटरल थिंकिंग गेम. आप जो लास्ट क्विज देखोगे उसके सबसे पहले टाइटल पे क्या था? डिडक्टिव थिंकिंग स्किल. So that is observation skill of an individual. An ordinary woman walks on water, it is not a miracle. It may be a frozen lake. तो यहाँ हमने क्या यूज करना है? द नॉलेज पूल. हमें पता है पानी कितनी फॉर्म्स में अवेलेबल है. इट इज नॉट अ मिरेकल. So it may be a frozen lake in which that woman is walking. Failure to utilize all the sensory input, we tend to rely on the vision too much. Sometimes after seeing a picture only, we try to identify the answer for a problem. But there may be different senses that we need to utilize. There's a lot of blood. There has been no foul play like a crime or a suicide. Can you explain? Challenge the way you think and see. There's a lot of blood. There has been no foul play like a crime or suicide. Can you explain?
Only blood is inside the body only.
Blood can also. Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. There is a lot of blood. One of the dead people is a woman. The other is the baby she just given birth to. She died in childbirth. Another barriers to creativity, that is emotional block, fear to make a mistake, to fail, or to take risk. So we all need a very secure kind of a life. That is why we are not in the process of taking risk. Inability to tolerate ambiguity. Ambiguity means we are not very clear in terms of our decisions. Overriding desires for security, order, no appetite for different things. Preference for judging ideas rather than generating them. Inability to relax, incubate, and sleep on it. Lack of challenge, problem fails to engage the interest, excessive zeal, or over motivation to succeed very quickly. That is also going to affect our creative ability. Lack of access to areas of imagination, lack of imaginative control, and inability to distinguish reality from fantasy. So these are few of the emotional blocks. Cultural are fantasies and reflection are a waste of time, lazy, and even crazy. Playfulness is only for children. Problem solving is a serious business, and humor is out of place. Reason, logic, utility, practicality are good feelings. Intuition, qualitative judgment, and pleasures are bad. Tradition is preferable to change. Any problem can be solved by scientific thinking and lots of money. Environmental blocks, there are many murder committees available with us all around. So there is lack of cooperation and trust among colleagues. Autocratic boss who value only his own ideas and does not reward other. Distraction, lack of support to bring ideas into action. So few of the examples that I have selected from the literature of creativity. Murder committees in 1876, Western Union internal memo said telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a mean of communication. 1943 IBM chairman, I think there is a world market for maybe 5 computers. Heavier than air flying machines are impossible, Lord Kelvin. Who the hell wants to hear actor talk? H.M. Warner, founder of Warner Brothers Film Studios. There are intellectual blocks also, solving the problem using an incorrect language. It may be verbal, it may be mathematical, it may be visual. Inflexible and inadequate use of intellectual problem solving strategy. Another puzzle related to this, a man born in 1972 and dies in 1952 at the age of 25. How is this possible? A man born in 1972 may be the room number of the hospital. Okay, so he was born in room number 1972 and of a hospital and dies in room number 1952. He was originally set up with those numbers reversed. So it can be the one solution. So how we can develop creative ability? One is the sensitivity. Another is educated guesses or senses, problem restructuring, fluency, how you can create ideas and read ideas of other, how you are able to develop association between different ideas and how you are going to express those ideas. किसी ने ना रिसर्च में मुझे एक बार कहा था, आईआईटी रुड़की के प्रोफेसर ने, whatever data is created or generated in lab, that data never is a wasted data. This is how you are going to present the data for publication. So that is expression of the idea. Flexibility, spontaneous, category of the different responses and different solution to the same problem need to be think upon. And then originality. So Thirsty Crow story is a perfect example of problem restructuring. हमें छोटे तो सुनाई जाती है थर्स्टी क्रो स्कूल में, दैट इज वी आर एबल टू restructure the problem again to solve that problem. So this is all from my side. Now one small activity for all of you is up till now in this particular session we have covered many dimensions and blocks related to creativity. Now the first thing that you all need to do in this particular session is, as a faculty, when it comes to the development of creativity of your students, what are the different activities you are going to perform so that creativity among student population can be developed. So there are many responses in the chat box, and a few of you suggested the teaching strategies that help us to develop creativity. One is give props and unlimited time to explore them, making students to imagine and think about their ideas. 1 minute activity to organize quizzes and crosswords for the student. Rewarding students with an attractive gift. So it is an extrinsic type of motivation that we are giving. Building brainstorming sessions for the students, role play activities and project-based learning. The same problem to be used by the different kind of activities. Set up and learning environment that allow the students to explore their own creativity. So celebrate creativity and reward that creativity. So thank you very much for the responses given. Any member who would like to add something to these suggestions? Activity, role play, quizzes and mini project. Ma'am, also the major projects can work. Yes, case study analysis is a very good approach. Okay.
But mainly it is required to give them exposure to new information, new things, so that they can use their mind and they can
Thank you very much, ma'am. So very rightly added by ma'am. When we expose students to the new information, they think about that information and come up with a new idea. Another idea that is given by the management faculty is to involve the students in case study method of analysis. So case study method of analysis allow the student to think about that given case from multiple dimension. And at the same time, it also increases the observation of the student to do that particular activity. So some seminar application oriented also be there. So thank you very much, Usha ma'am. There are also few suggestions from my side to all of you. When it comes to the development of the creativity at the student population, there are three different questions that we need to answer first. First is, in my class, how I'm going to recognize creativity. The second question, if I want to develop creative ability, what kind of teaching approach that I need to take care of for the development of such kind of environment? How can we incorporate it into different kind of courses? So creativity is a collaborative effort that needs to be performed at departmental level, and with the help of different teaching strategies that is also suggested by all of you, we need to give opportunity to the student to think beyond the activity that is just given to them. It is being said that recognizing the creativity gifted is again a very difficult thing for a teacher. The sad fact is that teachers generally do not prefer the more creative student. If in a class, after the complete of the session, if in my class, the student whom I consider is not listening to me at all, out of the box, he start asking me a very pertinent question for that particular topic that may be advanced by nature, and as a faculty, I do not know the answer of that particular statement at that time. So I think that particular candidate is just disturbing my class. So it somewhere hurt my adult ego, and rather than irrespective of finding answer and giving that answer maybe in the next class, I start ignoring that particular student. So we are affecting the creativity of that gifted child. Furthermore, they do not have much confidence in the future success of the more creative students. Students who do not want to work routinely for the regular practices is not that they are not able to do something, they may be good at something else. So rather than defining that particular dimension, we are forcing that student or that child to do that routine kind of an activity. So when it comes to recognizing the creativity gifted, it's not only at institute level, but in your personal life also, maybe the students around you or maybe the child at home, we need to identify the ability of that particular individual first. They are self-independent. They have inexhaustible curiosity. Nowadays, people are saying that this particular generation, the toddlers, 2 year and 3 year old, they are full of energy. They are very active. They are not ready to sit calmly because their ability to think about the information, their ability to use technology is way more advanced as compared to our population. And somewhere we as adults not able to evolve those children in day-to-day practices. They need more effort, they need more energy to be handled off. So they have inexhaustible curiosity that need to be structured or in line, tolerance to ambiguity in a problem definition. Some of the students are not easily ready to adjust to, they are not ready to listen and accept all the information that is provided by the faculty. Sometimes they contradict the information that is given by the faculty. So we need to accept the fact that student may have advanced information and I need to cross verify the information that is given to me. They are willing to take risk. आज की डेट में अगर आप स्टूडेंट की करियर ऑप्शंस पूछोगे, it's not engineering or it is not a medical profession or a commerce. They want to act as a freelancer. They want to create a digital content. They want to be even they want to be a interior decorators. They want to go to the fashion world. So that is a creative kind of choices the students are taking right now. Persistent in pursuit of the problem solution and patience to allow the solution to take shape in their own time. So as per their choices, we need to give recommendation to the student. Another is observation, the kind of observing environment we are able to create for our student. It is possible for us to develop creativity among them. So rather than say a simple example maybe rather than demonstrating the whole practical activity to the student, ask the student to use the label equipment and resources available and try to solve the problem by their own. So students are observing that laboratory environment, come up with the many conclusion, maybe after reading the printed manual only, but they are performing that activity by their own. That help us to develop observation and at the same time the confidence of the student. In literature also, 2 million years, man managed to discover only three important things: the fire, the fact that the wood float, and the horse. Then within 100 years, he came up with everything else. 100 साल में हमने सिर्फ क्या ढूंढा था? Fire, fact that would float, and the horses. And after those 100 years, we are able to invent railway, car, aeroplanes, antibiotic, electricity, telephone, computer, photography. But then we arrived in 1920, everything just stopped. Mobile phones, the word processor, Eurofighter, they are all just developments of idea that came along in the 19th century. So till ages, it means somewhere in education system we need to develop these kind of changes that our students start think again about the novel practices. So we need knowledge, cognitive, generic, and practical skills. Practice makes a man perfect. Always show empathy in a given environment and define your own priorities. Incorporate creativity while teaching also. Make your classes full of questions. Extend the responses. Promote peer learning. Offer leading questions as a focal point for brainstorming sessions. Be on the lookout for solution, correct and incorrect. Show clear signs of creativity and take care not to discourage the imaginative impulses that gave rise to them. When innovative solutions, correct and incorrect, we need to welcome both, are forthcoming, make them and your positive response to them in a public so others in the class can also get an idea. Provide case histories of the problem solution, especially the creative one. So this can be the few approaches as a teacher we can adopt.